Second half of the season starts tonight.
Yes.
Although it's so silly, it's not the second half.
No, not even close.
Yankees have 64 games remaining. You do the math, they played 98. That's not half.
And nobody ever plays their all-star game at the exact midway point. So that's kind of the NBA. My God, what did the NBA have? Like 25 games left after their all-star break? It was ridiculous.
And the NFL plays it after the season.
Yeah. But it does have a second-half feel to it. But I think stretch run's probably the better way to put it.
All right, then that's what we'll do.
Sure.
Now, I'm thinking about this all day yesterday. By the way, the 4 days I had off, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that I was driving 6, 8. Wait. 6 hours, 8, 6 hours, 4 hours, so that's 10.
Carry the 3.
Right.
All right, 14 hours in the car. 15 hours in the car, driving. Brutal. But I thought about this a lot. Brian Cashman came on the air with us many years ago and said, we're not trying to win a championship. We're trying to win championships.
Right.
Oh, I remember it.
Now, they haven't won a championship. So I think the focus now has to change to win a championship. Forget about the plural.
Mm-hmm.
Win a championship. So that being said, do you trade a major piece of your farm system to make a move that you think puts you over the top? And before, Friday, I guess, last Friday, from Baltimore, I said, you got to be really careful about trading Spencer Jones. There's one guy I would not trade in the Yankee farm system. One. That's Jason Dominguez. Because
right.
I really believe, I've seen it with my own eyes. He's the real deal. Can't give up on him. Cost certainty, switch hitter, good outfielder, has to stay healthy, but he's the real deal. Spencer Jones, you hope he's the real deal. Now, do I give Spencer Jones away for a middling reliever? No. But if you could get Tarek Skubal or somebody that's going to step in and put you over the top, I'm sorry to say, Donna Peter, I think you got to do it. Anybody but Dominguez gets traded in that farm system because this is the one year, the only year, that you for sure have Juan Soto as a Yankee. So you either win it this year or you have to recalibrate at the end of the year, start all over again. So do you give up a little bit of your future to win this year? Yes. And there's no guarantee about winning this year, but you got to put your best foot forward. And if you think you can make a deal and you have to give up one of the top prospects in baseball to do it, guys, I kind of think you have to now.
Well, not just this year because of Soto, but really shouldn't that be every year?
No, because I don't think you want to bankrupt yourself. But this year,
No.
You don't want to give up Spencer Jones. But you've got to put a team on the field that can contend for a championship the year that you know Juan Soto's going to be here. You have to.
But listen, I'm with you with Dominguez because you need somebody to replace in the outfield. I mean, you don't want Judge to be your center fielder forever. And what if you lose Juan Soto? And you have Verdugo, right? So that was my argument last week, is that where are you going to put Spencer Jones? You hold on to these players, you hold on to these prospects, but they're landlocked. I mean, part of having prospects, Michael, yes, is to groom them into being future Yankees, but part of it is to use them to be able to help you win a championship when you think you're short of that goal. So, yeah, you're going to circle certain guys and say no. But you're going to have to take a chance. And then that means that maybe Spencer Jones becomes the next Bryce Harper, and the guy that you get doesn't help you win a championship. But sometimes you just have to look at it and go, I'm sorry, the now is way more important. And I'll use a phrase you said many times talking about Cashman. In order to win championships, you got to win that first one. And so far, since he said that, the 4 or 5 years ago that he said it, Michael, they haven't gotten that first one yet.
Right. Now, Jones hitting .237 at Double-A. 10 homers, 46 ribbies. On base, 317. He strikes out a lot. Now, I'm not smart enough to know how that's going to project in a couple of years when he'd be ready for the majors, but 295 at-bats, 124 strikeouts. It's a lot. Also has 18 stolen bases. He's got great skills. But if you can get a player that you think puts you over the top, I think you got to do it. Now, on the other side of town,
go ahead.
I still can't believe that the debate rages on. Well, we got to see what the Mets do in the next 10 games before we commit to acquiring. Are you kidding me? So these next 10 games, what if they go into a slump for these next 10 games?
Then you give up again, Michael.
Yeah, but I don't get that, Peter.
No, I'm being sarcastic. I'm now with you. At this point, considering where the league is and considering where the team is, at this point, I think even Don would agree, Michael. You got to roll the dice and see what you can do this season. And also, what are you even going to get for Alonso at this point that's going to be worthwhile? That you wouldn't just be better off keeping him and seeing what he does, and if you could do something.
I think the big fear, though, is trading a young player. Part of your minor league stash. That's your future. But, Don, you know this as a Met fan. Making the postseason is not a God-given right for the Mets. What have they done 3 times in 17 years? Yeah. If you have a chance to do it. So let me ask you a question. They're 4 games over 500. Mm-hmm. Let's say they go 3-7. Now, they play the Marlins tonight in Miami. Marlins are dreadful. But let's say they go 3-7. They'd be a 500 team. You're going to give up?
No. Listen, we've learned that one of the major reasons why the Mets are where they are is because the National League is not very good collectively. So even if they were to go 3-7 over their next 10, I don't know if they would eliminate themselves, because then they can turn around and go 7-3 in the next 10 and put themselves right back in this. Because outside of Philadelphia and Los Angeles, I don't think there's any really good teams in the National League. So the Mets could be right there. See, that's the conversation that's fun for me, is that there's the weakness overall of the National League that the Mets can take advantage of to get in the playoffs. But as far as a conceivable run to the World Series, it's going to be tough, even though we've seen it happen recently, of beating Los Angeles and Philadelphia if you've got to go through them, because I think those are elite teams.
But remember, Don, I mean, the poster child for every team now that's on the periphery of the wild card are the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks slapped around the Dodgers last year. Knocked them out of the playoffs. It can be done.
It can be done, but also there has to be the logic of that's still a really difficult, hill to get over when those are 2 really good teams. Now, you look at the Yankees, they're making the playoffs. But on the other hand, I don't know who's really going to scare you outside of Houston because of the history in the postseason, Michael. But who's really good in the American League? I mean, Baltimore's really good, but you just took 2 out of 3 from them. They went over 100. They went over 100 games last year, but didn't make a run. The Orioles, they're still very young. The Guardians, I'm sorry, you look at that Central, look at the history of the Central, Michael. Those teams don't make runs. Those teams seem to fold in the postseason. Both of the Central divisions in each league, the Yankees take care of the Guardians. They take care of the Twins. So even though those teams may finish with better records than the Yankees and might on paper be better than the Yankees, I don't think any Yankee fan would fear a series against the Twins.
I agree.
Now, the Guardians, maybe, but I still think the Guardians, that was a pillow fight 2 years ago, Michael. The Yankees couldn't get any hits outside of Bader, and they still ended up beating the Guardians in a big spot. So I think the Mets are going to make the playoffs based on how weak the National League is, but I think the Yankees have an easier path to the World Series than the Mets would, because even though we've seen the Dodgers and Phillies lose early in the playoffs, I think those 2 teams are better than what the Yankees would have to get through to get to the World Series in the American League.
One thing that I would warn about, though, Don, they are 8-18 in the last 26 games. They can't keep playing like that.
For the Dodgers?
Something has to turn around. So maybe by next week, Stanton comes back.
Oh, the Yankees, okay.
But 8-18, you keep going 8-18 every 26 games, you're going to be on the outside looking in. So we're all saying, they're definitely going to make the playoffs if they turn it around. But if the slide continues, the second half last year wasn't very good. Second half in 2022 wasn't very good. And there are teams breathing down their neck. So you got to play better. They did play better in Baltimore. And one more thing. I know Don already told me this is going to happen. If you watch Sunday's game and you somehow found Roku and you blame that loss on Clay Holmes, you don't know what you're talking about. You know what he did? He got 4 outs. He got 4 outs. They should have been celebrating the entire 4 days off. Yeah, he didn't pitch well at the beginning of the inning. So what? Only Mariano Rivera mowed people down. All closers do that. See what Craig Kimbrell did?
Well,
gave up a home run to Rice. He got the bases loaded with a 1-run lead or 2-run lead. A ground ball of Volpe ends it. He booted it. Then a fly ball of Verdugo. 99% catch probability. He booted it. And they lose the game. You're going to say that Clay Holmes lost that game? You don't know what you're watching. Sorry, you don't know what you're watching. You don't. Has Holmes been great? No. He has had truncated playing time, too. Closers are better when you use them a lot. Yankees have not had a lot of save opportunities out there. They've lost a lot of games. He did enough to get the save. So don't tell me he blew that game just because he had a rough beginning of the inning. You don't know what you're watching. You're reactionary, and you really don't know baseball. He got 4 outs. The rule is you're supposed to get 3. He got 4. Blame it on Volpe, blame it on Verdugo. Don't blame it on Holmes. All right, we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
You kidding me?